Orville had a business.
Oh, that was my business, huh?
Yes, it was your business. I was a stay-at-home mom, and he had a business that...
It was her family business that I kind of fell into, because I graduated from college in 1992 during a recession, and I found I could make living doing her family business as a commercial vendor at fairs and shows.
And not working all year, so it was kind of nice because he would be home with the kids,
Hang out at the play groups with when the kids were
the
little.
moms.
Yeah.
We had a couple...
Mow everybody's yard and rototill their garden for them. It was good.
Yeah. We had a couple of tough years, and he ended up coming to me and saying, this is where we are, $700,000 plus in debt, and we could file bankruptcy or swing for the fence. And I guess I'm maybe a tad vain because I know they post your name in the newspaper. And Orville, that's a very unusual name.
Yeah, everybody would know.
Everybody would know
it
was us. Yeah. So it's horrible maybe, but I said we're going to swing for the fence and we're going to swing really hard. No idea what we were going to do, but just knowing that's what the option we were going to choose. So
and we had been in the fair and show business, and there were a few breakout hits, you know, that would get on QVC or do a direct response infomercial, and so we looked at that angle, and we did a car wax infomercial because I'd been making car wax for many years.
So can I interrupt real quick? So were you an inventor of these products? Were these yours, or were you selling them? How did
A little of both.
Okay.
Right. Usually we would find a product that somebody was needing a distributor for, and then would get the rights to sell the product, would book the fair, would hire the pitchman, would bring them all together.
Gotcha.
So we did a car wax infomercial, and it was our last $60,000. And so
that was our first decision together. And that was something else too. In the past, before this day when we decided to swing for the fence, you know, he would make decisions and maybe not tell me. And from that day forward, we decided we would do everything together. Everything
and
together.
I think before we realized that we were at the rock bottom financially, and things seemed to be okay, we were very happy with separate roles where, you know, she was at home with kids and I was running the business. And then when we realized that that wasn't working, that's when, you know, I came to her and said, look, I don't want to be the only one making these decisions, because obviously
big load for one person to carry too.
Obviously, I wasn't doing a very good job, so could you please help out? And I realized that if she helped me, or if we made decisions together, then she couldn't get mad at me for the outcome.
Right. Very true. Very true.
I decided then I would never do anything without her blessing. From that moment on.
Wait, there's been one thing.
I was at the auction.
There's been one thing. One thing.
I was at the auction. My phone was dead. The dog was so cute. So I bought a dog at an auction.
You bought a dog.
And she didn't like it.
Yeah, it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
Actually, somebody here at Scentsy took him, so that was nice.
Okay, so yeah.
But,
see, it doesn't work out when you make decisions independently.
No.
So we became
partners
in everything.
Team, in everything.
Yeah, no decision. We haven't made a decision since that hasn't been a joint decision.
Together.
And sometimes everyone around us gets so frustrated because we just don't do anything unless we agree. And so they get frustrated.
We're compromising. We're waiting it out to see where it's going to land.
I feel like that partnership has worked out, you guys.
It has.
I think it worked out for you. So here you are, $700,000 in debt at your financial rock bottom. You've come together on the same page. But what's that page, right? What does it look like? What do you do?
It's scary. It's a scary page to be on.
So I was looking for a product. like some friends that had broken out of we called it the pitch business. You know, they'd find a product and get it on a direct response. So we tried the car wax, invested our last $60,000 of credit, and we sold $40 worth of product out of that $60,000 investment. So
woohoo!
It was a brutal slap in the face. And at this point, we're now dumping the change out of our big water jug in the Coinstar machine to buy groceries. It was
and
bad.
We're teaching our kids how to answer the phone when the bank calls asking where the payments are. So it was that bad.
So in that time, we had, credit cards, our average interest rate on that 700,000 was over 20%. It was brutal.
Scary.
But we weren't going to declare bankruptcy. We were going to pay it off. We had to find something. And I was at the home show in Salt Lake City. In fact, it was such a bad time that we had no money in the bank to pay the booth rent. So I kept telling the promoter of the show, oh, no, I've got the money. I show up at the show sheepishly, and I had to be honest with her because we'd been friends for years. I said, here's a check. It was $16,000 for my booth rent. I said, there's no money in the bank, so don't cash it, but I'll buy the check back by the end of the show. Please let me set up. I've got everything necessary, and this is going to be my turning point.
Yeah.
And it was.
It really was. At that show, he met 2 women who had started Scentsy about 5 months earlier. And he called me on the phone and said, I found this great product, and tried to describe it to me. And he had brought home many products that went into the junk pile. And so we
sold good stuff, but there were things that I thought we might sell.
maybe.
That didn't catch on.
Yeah. So I just said, I am not sure what you're explaining. Bring it home and I'll test it out. So he did. He brought it home, and amazing. My first experience, he brought 3 bars home. So I warmed banana nut bread first. And he came home.
I forgot.
Yeah. And he said, oh my gosh, what are you baking? And I said, it's not baking. Yeah, it's Scentsy. And he said, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
This is better than I thought it would be. Because all I had seen was the booth that Kara and Colette had set up.
Yeah.
And they wanted.
So they had the warmer. I mean, so it looked like it looks now, right?
The bars were different. The bars were a little different.
They were buying warmers from. There were potpourri simmer pots is what the warmers were. So they were buying them from suppliers that would sell to Hallmarks and boutiques and stuff like that. And then they had wax that they were buying from a local candle maker that was poured into molds, and they would shrink wrap those chunks of wax. So their real invention was bringing the warmer and the wax together. Companies had sold tarts, companies had sold warmers for things like potpourri or simmering oils, but nobody had brought chunks of wax and warmers under a single brand before, and that was their brilliant idea.
Well, and it was already named Scentsy, and the colors purple and green and everything.
So you brought it home.
Yes,
tested it out.
Loved it, and then
tell me what happened.
They were young. They're maybe 25-ish, 20 in their 20s, and Orville said, I think I can maybe help them. Figure this out, because he had asked if he could buy their product wholesale, and they didn't even know what that meant. So
and I was basically, what I saw was 2 really bright young women who had a great idea, but they lacked business experience. They didn't have a marketing plan. They didn't have a supply chain, and there was no way they could supply me this great product that they had unless I helped them. So I started to help them. Look at the numbers,
like a few days,
find product,
short period of time. This all happened really fast.
Yeah, we decided to do a show we decided to do the Seattle Women's Show that I had some booths. So they came up to Seattle with me, and I kind of showed them. We changed the pricing, and we merchandised it a little differently. And at the end of that show, they said, Orville, do you want to just buy the business?
And he said, well, we don't have any money.
In my mind.
Your business
isn't really a business.
Really, it's only 5 months old.
And it's a product idea. And we didn't want to just steal their idea from them. The only thing that was protected was the name. And I didn't like the name at first. It's really grown on me, and I love it now. But at the time, I thought, that's kind of an odd name. But we just didn't feel right about that. So we said, let's work something out. And we did. So on May 1st, 2004.
We met him in March. May 1st, brought everything, went down, picked everything up, brought it home, and then for 2 months decided what we were going to do with it. And his plan was to just sell it at fairs and shows like he had before. And
hopefully get a direct response or get it onto QVC or, that was kind of the plan for me.
But in my head, I think it was just an extension of what already got us into debt. So I felt like we needed to do something different. So I got online and I researched, and I came across the Direct Selling Association, and they were having their annual meeting on May 18th. So just a few days after we brought everything home from Kara and Colette.
That was 2 months, about 2 months and a week after we met Kara and Colette.
Yeah. And I said to him, you know, it's past early bird registration. It's a fortune to go, but I think you need to go to this meeting and just see if direct selling might be what we could do with Scentsy.
Because I had had some negative experiences with direct selling, but when I went, what I realized was there are two sides of direct selling.
Yeah.
And the Direct Selling Association really represents companies that have great brands, great products. They're responsible. They do a great job of self-regulation. So it was a completely different world for me. I saw the reason why Warren Buffett bought the Pampered Chef and why large Fortune 500 companies will invest in direct selling companies. And I came home and said, Heidi, you're right. This is the direction we need to go.
So we quickly formed a company, but it wasn't anything like a normal direct selling company. We didn't have a normal catalog. You probably saw the flip book downstairs.
Is that part of the display downstairs?
Yeah. I went in the backyard, took pictures of the product, and went to a Walmart, developed the photos, and bought little books, and that was our catalog.
Well, and what was interesting is we were still completely out of money. Our kids were eating church stew. I'd go work at the church cannery so I could buy cases of stew for 25 cents a can. And our kids got so sick of church stew.
Yeah, it was bad.
It
was really
and
bad.
Oatmeal and baked potatoes. I mean, it was, I remember our budget at the time, and this lasted for a couple of years. While Scentsy was developing, Heidi put a steel wall between our ugly finances and Scentsy's finances.
Well, he still was doing the fairs and shows, so September started up, and he took off to go do the Monroe Fair and
Puyallup Fair,
Puyallup Fair,
Spokane
yeah.
Fair, yeah.
And I found the checkbook, and he hadn't balanced it at all since May, since receiving it. And so again, in my head, I thought, wow, if we're going to make a different business, he can't run it like he did his other business. I'm not meaning it in a mean way at all. So
this is where our strengths come together.
Yeah, I grabbed that checkbook, and he never saw that checkbook again.
Yeah, I still don't have a checkbook.
You don't.
So, but,
no, not for him.
My degree was history.
Yeah, you're right.
Her degree was business.
Yeah.
Right. So I was in business, but I was in business as.
So that's what makes you a great talker.
As a history major. So
Yeah.
I'm about story and future and past and legacy. That's kind of the way I would think. So big vision, but not big on details. And so, and Heidi's
Realist.
very detailed. So coming together, I was a sail, but without a rudder. I'd run frequently into cliffs and shoals and beaches. When Heidi and I got
come
together,
back here.
she became the rudder, and so we became a rudder and a sail, and that's the difference. Why that's why Scentsy is the business it is compared to the businesses that I had before.
Yeah.
So was there a turning point where you realized this thing's really going to work? Like this business is taking off, it's going to work. So take me to that point maybe where you realized
there was
something.
Yeah.
I remember the first party scared me to death. I thought, oh my goodness, what did we do?
Because we only sold $75 worth of product.
Who was
the
there?
first
At the very
party.
first party. Who was there?
So we didn't do it. So we had a great friend, Deanie Morehouse, local friend of ours, and she'd done a few direct selling companies before. We thought she was an expert because she'd done many different direct selling companies.
Bounced around.
Now we realize that a good direct seller is one who sticks with their business and builds it deep and big.
And she's been with us 14
done that,
years. Yeah.
She's done an amazing job with us, but she did the first party, and she came back from that party with $75 in sales.
Yeah. Panic.
We thought there's no way this is going to work. People don't like this. And we had given I had given some gifts away, and Mark Stastny, who is our current chief marketing officer, I gave he and his wife a gift. And then I went over to their house and I saw it sitting in their china cupboard.
Yeah, they weren't using it.
because the concept just wasn't there yet. People didn't understand. They thought it was like a candle where you take out a warmer when you want this fragrance and you turn it on and you turn it off and put it away when you don't. And so we were worried about that. But Deanie turned that party around with some outside orders and just hustling.
Well, and then I think down the road, like 2 or 3 hostesses, she ended up having a $1,000 party. So then we thought, okay, this might work.
The wheels were turning,
right.
the momentum was building, right?
And from that, and then she started to get some recruits that were on fire. And Becky Priest was one of her first recruits, if not her first recruit.
Yeah.
She was her first recruit. And then Becky did things different than Deanie. And so Deanie and Becky were both having success, but in different ways. And so we realized that it could translate past personality.
And how does it, what is it about Scentsy to you? Why does it do that? Why does it appeal to so many people? Why is it done? Because it's a smell.
Yeah,
right?
It is a smell. But I think your sense of smell is attached to your memories and
your happy place.
It is your happy place. So I think you would find, if you were to do research, that in a down economy, people still buy candles and things that smell good because of how they feel when they're warming them. So, and it triggers memories, fun memories. So.
And so it can,
and even bad memories.
Yeah, well, it can transcend all personalities, all cultures, all demographics, all psychographics. Yeah. And so when we realized Scentsy was going to work, was when we were finding success here in Idaho. Down in Utah, we had a few shows where we were recruiting people, and we found some success in Utah, and it just started to spread. We found a consultant in Oregon, and she started to do well. And everywhere it touched, it was successful, even though it was extremely small. So we were seeing doubling in sales every 6 weeks. And we said, how many times can we continue to double the size of our business, and how long is that doubling period? If we can keep that, calculated in weeks instead of years or months, then we can grow pretty quickly and hit critical mass and be successful.
But I think if you saw our growth, it might have scared you again. Because at the end of 2004, from July 1st when we launched till the end of 2004, we only ended the year with 66 consultants.
And only 150,000 in sales. Yeah. And we were still $700,000 in debt. We were living on $2,000 a month with an $1,100 a month mortgage. Yeah. And we still paid our insurance. And we still paid a full tithe.
So, we were juggling really well.
We had about $300 in discretionary money, and that included food. Yeah. So our kids didn't have any activities. I remember Mary, our daughter, sitting in the back. We were driving somewhere, and she has these big, beautiful eyes, and when she cries, there are alligator tears. She could fill a swimming pool with her tears. And she was in the back of the minivan, and she was crying, and I said, Mary, what's wrong? We're poor. It dawned on her because her friends were teasing her that she was poor. Yeah. And we're like, no, we're not. Yes, we are. So-and-so said we're poor. And, so those were tough times. And the kids were at the office all the time because we couldn't afford employees. So we were working around the clock constantly.
And talk to me about, maybe this backpedals a little bit, but there's a shipping container down in your lobby that's been recreated. And there's a crock pot down in your lobby. Yeah. Tell me about the crock pot and the shipping container.
So the shipping container we already had on a piece of property here in Meridian, Idaho.
We call it the sheep farm. There's about 6 or 7 sheep that I bought to show because I grew up with sheep, and so I bought some sheep so that the kids could see life, right? And so we had a few sheep on this kind of a ratty piece of property that we hoped that someday we could tear down all the buildings and sell to a gas station or something. But
it was really ratty. I think it was haunted.
Maybe the ugliest building in Meridian.
Yeah, it was pretty
that office
scary.
building.
But we brought home Scentsy on May 1st to that container. That was what we had. And I said to myself, I hope Kara and Colette never come and visit, because they would be so sad to see this is Scentsy. Yeah, this is their baby on this ugly farm with this ugly container.
If you adopt your child out and they,
I know,
and the adoptive families in a tent city, you kind of might worry.
I know.
And that was the way it was.
But it was right behind, right now, what is the Meridian School District, huge building. And at the time it was J-Bill. Yeah, it was the J-Bill building, and it was for sale. Yeah, for $15 million. And I remember Orville looking out the window,
so frustrated,
saying, "We're gonna need something that big someday. I wish we had the money to buy that."
That building is such a steal. You can't make it for less than 30. We need to figure out a way to buy that building. We're gonna need it in a couple years.
And I'm the realist. I was like, "You are crazy. There is no way we're gonna be buying a $15 million building." I don't know.
And
it was too hard to think about at the time.
Sure.
And I was looking at the consistency of our doubling process and extrapolating over time. And, the spreadsheet was incredibly accurate. And so I would talk to people and say, here's where we're going to be. And Orville, that's just ridiculous. And I remember,
there's no way.
So we moved to a couple of small rental places, an 1,800 square foot place for about 18 months over off of Franklin.
We were only on the farm from that May 1st till October when we leased a building.
Okay, so it was
short.
Short.
Yeah. And so we were in an office space and we were manufacturing and had the drop ceilings and there was a din of smoke at the
We had to open the back door, let it all out.
Our kids were at our feet.
Running
and thought,
everywhere.
OSHA, please don't show up.
I know.
OSHA, please don't show up.
We prayed a lot for that.
Yeah. And we didn't have any paid employees until the end of 2005. So, we were a year and a half in before we had any paid employees.
And so how many scents did you have at that point? Who developed the
80.
different scents? So
Yeah.
And that was on you guys. You did all
Yes.
of that, and you
Well-
came up with the marketing, and you did all
That's
of
another whole
this.
story.
So
That's
the,
a whole
market,
nother
the
story.
marketing plan. So we went to the direct selling. I went to the Direct Selling Association meeting in May of 2018, May 18th, 2004. We launched July 1st. So we had our compensation plan, our host program, and
Our beautiful catalog.
yeah. So all of these things,
Yes.
all of these things, our mission statement, the things that we still use today, were created in about a 6-week period. And so that was the marketing plan, and we stumbled upon it. There were things that we couldn't do that were popular, like immediate pay, or so we charged our consultants retail price, and then we gave them a commission.
Which
in
was
arrears.
not the norm in a direct selling payment plan at the time.
But it turned out to be brilliant because it not only allowed us to fund the business.
Because you get money from them.
Yes. Yeah, it gave us float.
Yeah.
We were able to stay afloat longer.
Yeah, and not like the bank float, but it was a float between when the consultants paid us and when
we paid
them the commission, and that 6-week period for us it gave us cash flow. For them, what it did is it gave them a check once a month, and so they treated Scentsy like a business. And when they got that check, it meant something. Where if they were just buying product at a discount, direct sellers tend to just spend more money on product.
Well, and they think of the product as that price, the discounted price, not the full retail.
So this kind of innovation that we came up with, well, it wasn't really an innovation, but it was I think
it was us being naive at the time, but
it
worked.
This mechanism that we created turned out to be one of the secrets of our success. Yeah. But it happened because we didn't have any cash to do anything differently. So we had to figure out a way. So that the constraint of no cash forced us to make decisions, because when you don't have credit, you have to live on cash flow. Yeah. And when you learn how to live on cash flow, then every decision is either a good one or it dies really quickly. And so we had to figure out ways of funding the business without outside money. And because we could do that, we were able to scale. Because I think the biggest accomplishment that Heidi and I have made at Scentsy is the fact that we were able to do this without outside money or investors.
And we didn't take a paycheck or any money till 3 years in. So
yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah. So those $2,000 a month family budget months happened while we had $500,000 in the Scentsy bank account. Mm-hmm. And Heidi would not let us touch it for anything.
And our agreement was a royalty payment to Karen Collette. So every month we would pay them that payment, and we're like, wait, we're working so hard. Yeah. It was hard.
So here we are. What are we? So that was in 2004. So here we are. 14 years later. Yeah. Sitting in this big, beautiful building. Does it boggle your mind sometimes?
Yeah.
How
it does. It's still unbelievable.
Everybody knows what it is, you know?
There's still a lot of people that don't know.
Okay, well, I won't say it. But
no, it's okay.
It's okay.
No, but which was good.
You didn't know?
Well,
okay.
Once you saw the warmer, did you know?
I knew what it was.
Okay.
My mom has one, so.
But
at the time when she said the name, I did not know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know what we do. They drive by Scentsy Commons and
they're not sure.
They have no idea what we do, how we do it.
But we do field trips and all kinds to show it off. So.
Well, and that was one of my questions too, talking about current Scentsy, how the business is right now. You just going over how you take care of your employees. I saw a list of all the great benefits that your employees get. I mean, why you take care of families, you focus on working parents, all of that. Why is that so important to you? A lot of companies don't do that.
Right.
They don't take care of their employees like that. You know, they may take care of them financially, give them their paid time off. But why are things like letting parents make school lunches for their kids? Why is that important to you? I love that.
Because we were there. We were starting Scentsy, working 20 hours a day, and I was wishing that I had those few extra minutes to make lunch for my kids, and that I had those few extra minutes to make dinner. So we've been there, and so we thought of ways that we could help our employees live their lives outside of Scentsy when they get home, but also be part of the Scentsy family and just make life easier. So
I love that. It's very unique. I think it's really neat that you do that.
Yeah.
I think our goal, because we started in such a dark financial place, and from that dark financial place we found a light in our relationship, and Heidi and I came together and found real joy in our marriage at the worst time financially.
Which a lot of people would be divorced, I think.
I was just thinking that a lot of people would not have made it through.
Nope.
So that became the bright spot of our marriage. That became the turning point when we really became two sides of one entity. And so I look back on those times with great fondness. And almost a disdain for money and finance and keeping up with the Joneses, and that because we had been kind of kicked out of that circle of society for a while, and we found ourselves outside of the circle, we never really I've never found a love of money again. But Scentsy's success meant the spigot was coming, right? And there's really nothing you can do about success when it starts to flow. I mean, if you're doing the right things, then it's going to happen, whether you want it or not. And I tell people all the time, you only make the right amount of money about 6 months of your life, because if you figure out how to make enough money, you're going to figure out how to make too much money. So our goal was always, how do we distribute the goods that Scentsy has created, or the goodness that Scentsy has created, to the people who deserve it?
And who helped us build it. Yeah. So.
And that's really hard, because sometimes, if you just pay an employee too much outside of market forces, then that can become a problem. If you pay them too little, it's a problem. Who deserves the goods of Scentsy, the goodness that Scentsy creates? It's the people who contributed it, and they deserve it proportional to their contribution. So the community has a stake in it, our employees have a stake in it, our kids have a stake in it. And so we try to distribute that the best we can. And if we're equitable in that, then we're going to have goodwill, and people are going to like us, and we're going to sell well, and the spigot will stay
Yeah.
turned on. And if we screw that up, then we'll create enmity
Well,
and
turn it on more.
yeah.
Turn it on, yeah.
So
But it's part of our culture.
yeah, it is,
so,
and that's what
yeah.
culture was,
Yep,
was
yep.
what I was looking for. Yeah, that is a big part of it.
Yep.
So the segment we're doing the interview for is called Made in Idaho.
Yes.
So you probably would have had opportunity if you wanted to take your headquarters anywhere.
Yes.
You could have probably could still do business anywhere you want. Why is staying in Idaho, in Meridian, important to you? Why do you do business here?
We chose Idaho. We, after our first daughter was born, we went on a
quest.
We did. We went on a quest looking for the perfect place
To raise a
family, and we drove everywhere, all over the place, because his business before Scentsy, we would be able to live anywhere. So we drove many miles, trekking all over, and Boise was not on our list at the time.
And I don't know why.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But
it was just completely, it didn't show up on
Yeah.
any of our radars.
But on one of the trips home, going home depressed because we didn't find a place, stopped for gas in Boise, picked up a Homes magazine, and realized the quality of life, that we could afford a home here, and
What year was this, or when was this?
1994.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
And then we ended up moving in 95. So
So we found out
Yeah.
that Heidi was pregnant with our second daughter,
Yeah.
and we had HMO insurance in Washington State.
yes.
So it wouldn't transfer. So we had to stay in Washington. So we moved
Well-
into a 1967 Airstream travel trailer with leaky windows in Washington. My bed was always wet.
Yes, it was
Heidi,
a dream.
Heidi and Sarah
Yes,
would
you're
sleep
watching.
in one of the
Yeah,
twin
yeah.
beds, and I slept in the other one, and I'd have to
Yeah.
kind of sleep in a crescent so that the wet spot in my mattress
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
wake me up.
But you know HMO, you
Yeah.
walk in, do your thing, and it's paid for. Mary ended up needing to be in the NICU, so it was a blessing that we went back, and because it was a very large
Yeah.
bill that
Yeah,
we
oh, I'm
walked
sure.
out.
But we were homeless
so-
then for about 18 months,
Yeah.
living in
So
the
you
trailer.
were
Yeah.
healthy
Yes.
and all that.
Yep. And then 95
and then-
moved
And
here.
then 95, we
But-
saved up our money so we could
When we
buy a house.
brought Scentsy, there was never a thought of leaving Boise because of Scentsy ever. So
Because it started here.
right,
This
it
was-
started
this was your
here,
home.
and we
Well,
actually have. Were you going to say that?
Yeah.
We have some friends that started their home party business about the same time we did, and they were in Nashville,
No,
Kentucky.
Chattanooga. They were in Chattanooga,
Okay.
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
And we remember meeting, they're another very successful direct selling
Yeah.
company. And one of the great stories in direct selling
Yeah.
coming out of the same era that we did. And I remember talking to them I think we had 400 consultants and they had 600 consultants. I mean, we were both very small businesses, and they were in Chattanooga and we were in Boise, similar
Yeah.
markets. They chose to move to Columbus because Longaberger was from Columbus.
Yeah.
Other direct selling companies were in Columbus.
Larger city, more people to choose from.
Easier
Yeah.
to build. And we decided to stay in Boise where there was no previous direct selling success.
Yeah.
And so everybody that we hired, we either had to import or get people from outside of direct selling. So we didn't have any industry expertise that we could really draw on very well.
Yeah. So Boise's our home,
But we did that
and
on
we.
purpose because we love Boise.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And we're proud of the Made in Idaho. Proud of it. So
You bloom where you're planted.
yeah.
And I think that the entrepreneurial soil here in the Treasure Valley is amazing,
Yeah.
right? And the Morrisons and Knutsons and the Albertsons and they just begin the list of great entrepreneurs, Simplots, right?
Yep.
And so you bloom where you're planted, but when you're lucky, you get
Can we
planted
actually
in a place like the Treasure Valley.
call ourselves part of that now? Simplots and Albertsons, and that's pretty cool.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty
We
cool.
still have a few years before I think
In a small way.
We might get there.
We're on the
we
bottom
might
of
get
the
there
list,
someday.
but
Yeah, we'll have to name a park after you or something.
no.
Scentsy Commons is pretty close,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
This is a park. We treat it like a park.
We do.
Yep.
We take care of it
Yeah.
ourselves. But one of our favorite things is during homecoming and prom season.
Yes.
There's hundreds of kids
flock.
taking their pictures
Here,
for prom pictures, and I love it.
And it's fun to get on Instagram. Oh, I know where that picture was taken. Oh, we need a hashtag, I think, just
or
for
the
that.
tunnel of lights we had last year. There were so many people came and took pictures of their families, and that nothing makes us happier than that. That is fun. Well, actually, what makes me happiest is when I'm walking through the crowds. They have no idea who I am, and I hear the conversations about how cool the landscaping is, and I think, I picked that tree.
That was me.
Yeah, I placed that
in
tree.
a humble way, right?
Yeah. I don't tell them that. I don't brag to them, but I do.
I
do give myself a little internal pat on the back.
Yeah. He loves landscaping, so
That's
It
my
shows,
thing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
shows. These grounds are beautiful. So, okay, my last real question was, I want to know, do either of you have a favorite product, a favorite scent? I mean, something that you make or that you used to make that has a really special spot in your heart, or some really good memory that it triggers. Do you have? I know it's hard to pick. It's like picking a favorite.
I already mentioned mine, so I have to say it again. Banana nut bread, just because it was that first fragrance that I warmed and felt love for the whole idea of Scentsy from that banana nut bread. So it's not available
all the time.
All the
We do
time.
have Bring Back My Bar just so people can have it. Yeah.
So they have to
It's
vote
not as
for it.
popular as it should be, is what we're saying.
No. Well, it's seasonal too, I think. So.
One great memory I have. So early on, when we bought the company, we were buying wax from another manufacturer, and they cut us off cold turkey. And I had to figure out how to make 80 different fragrances, match the color, and I only had weeks to do it because we didn't have much
Orders
inventory.
were coming in.
So Heidi was here in Boise. I was up in Washington doing fairs. I was trying to figure this out in the back of my booth in a crock pot. I've got a storage unit. I called up fragrance providers, hit and miss, tried every which way. And I remember Sunkissed Citrus was the first one I figured out.
Yeah.
So that was the first
Success.
success in manufacturing the Scentsy wax on my own. And then within a couple of weeks, I had all 80 figured out. I had a formulary. I was able to go buy some equipment, and that's just evolved to the 1 million pounds of wax that we have brought in on rail cars that we store here. Everything just scaled from that crock pot moment. But it's that Sunkissed Citrus was the magical moment for me that I realized, hey, I can figure this out.
And Sunkissed Citrus is still available. So,
There you go.
But I don't know if that's my favorite. Our products are like children.
I know what yours is.
I know how you pick one.
Sea salt and avocado?
I kind of like Blue Grotto more lately.
Yeah. Okay.
Cider Mill is good. But
no, apricot vanilla. That's my favorite.
It's
good.
It's like children, right? We do have favorites, but we don't really like to discuss it.
And it
usually
comes in moments.
Usually it changes.
Too.
I tell my kids, my favorite is the one that's near me that isn't irritating me at the time. and I think that's the same with fragrance.
And seasonal too.
Yeah.
Like spicier in fall.
Yeah.
And
how many fragrances do you have?
we have 80 all the time, and then each month we have a fragrance of the month. So.
And then we'll come out with special wax collections. Like right now, a couple days ago, we just launched our crystal collection.
I just saw them out there.
Yeah.
And they're
Did
fantastic.
you smell them?
Yeah, I saw amethyst. That's the stones. I just smelled that one.
That's mine.
That's his too.
The calcite? No.
Yeah,
Green.
it is green
green
calcite.
calcite,
Yeah. Very good.
So that's fun, and
Yeah.
it's artistic, and they're a little bit out there conceptually,
but
the fragrances are fantastic.
Are you still involved day to day? I mean, is that because I think sometimes
every
when the
fragrance
business gets big enough, you can step back a little bit, let other people handle it, but you're still involved.
We are,
Every product that is sold, we are involved.
See, we like
with,
that. Oh, this smells great. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
It's
yeah,
fun.
Heidi's
It's fun.
knows best. She's still the best nose in the company, and everybody relies on that, I think, for the final checkoff. Yeah.
Yeah, and anyone who's ever bought knockoff warmer wax knows that
they come back. They come back.
I know you can't tell me everything about it, but why is it different for me? And this is getting really nitty gritty, but getting it out of your warmer is where the big difference comes in for me, right? But why is Scentsy different? What can you tell me a little bit about your product, about why it is so unique? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a secret.
It might be, and that's okay.
We do have a secret formula, but
so wax is, wax can come from lots of different sources. There can be vegetable wax, beeswax, palm wax, soy wax, paraffin wax. And, each has their advantages, each has their purposes. For a fragrance-holding wax, there's nothing that beats a good paraffin wax. And a paraffin is a byproduct of the petroleum industry, right? So it's from a carbon footprint, even though it is from made from crude oil, it's got a better environmental impact than even soy wax because of the process that soy wax has to go through.
But it's also safe. I mean, you could eat the wax and it's fine. So
and because we don't,
oh sure, it has.
And we don't.
I'll tell you a
nothing
story.
Nothing is combusted, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we received a letter one time. Somebody wrote in and said, "Oh, I just don't get this. Your blueberry cheesecake bar tastes nothing like it should."
If you made your wax taste like it smelled, you'd sell a lot more.
Oh man, you're not supposed to eat them.
It won't hurt you, but it doesn't taste very good. But anyway, so we use a good paraffin wax. A lot of people will use a cheaper version of the wax. There are ingredients that we put in so that it releases properly from the clamshell, that it releases from the warmer dish. But mostly we're looking for a wax that has the maximum fragrance holding capacity. So we'll put 4, 5, 6 times more fragrance and a higher quality fragrance in our Scentsy bars than what you would get in a retail brand. And so, and you can tell. And there are some fragrances that are just bold, and so, you might get a real strong fragrance from a grocery store brand. But there are very few fragrances that are cheap enough for them and still strong.
Right.
So with Scentsy, we have such a variety because we're trying to trigger a memory for every individual. So we have to have a large variety in order to do that, and we have to have a wax that can handle that entire variety and keep it stable. And so it is a special wax. And
special formula.
And it's not cheap. It's not a cheap wax. And then the fragrance is another thing. Fragrances can come in all kinds of price points. And we target a much more expensive fragrance oil than would be seen in most retail brands. So
it makes a difference.
There are premium. Well, and we always say that there are people that might be inspired by Scentsy or even knock Scentsy off, but nobody can out Scentsy. And we will always be the premier product in our
Well, that's what
market.
we choose to be. So,
yeah.
You spend a lot of time.
Yes.
You sound like you invest a lot of time and money in making sure it's that way too. Awesome. I think that is the end of my list of questions.
Woohoo!
Something Lonnie wants us to talk about, or something else you want to share that we didn't talk about that you.
I'll tell you one more fun. When you asked about if we knew we had made it, I still think we're on that journey. We haven't made it because there's still a lot of other people that want to be part of Scentsy and will be part of Scentsy.
Yeah, I wish I could know what the definition of making it is, because people ask us all the time, and
now that you've made it, we're still working hard, but
and enjoying.
When we first started, there was a darling company of the Direct Selling Association, which they were talking about was this business that's going to go somewhere. It's amazing. They're growing like crazy. And so I thought, well, I'm going to watch them. And
they kept sharing their numbers, their growth numbers, their sales numbers.
Yeah, and their consultant ID numbers. So I was able to tell when they hit 400 consultants or 600 because the consultant was assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And we could see that there was a pattern.
Yeah, and so I would get online and watch their company newsletter and read it, and in my head thinking, oh my gosh, if we could only have 1,000 consultants, wow, that would be amazing, wow. Anyway, one day reading their newsletter, that we had passed them up. I'm running into Orville's office, oh my gosh, we just passed up this company.
And I said, Heidi, see the spreadsheet?
It was an exciting day, yeah.
See the spreadsheet? I predicted this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I know.
The spreadsheet never lies.
Yeah. So
that's neat.
Yeah.
So that was an aha moment.
it was, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's neat.
So
And I think for me, one of the greatest moments was when we went to Puerto Rico.
yeah.
So our first software system was just a licensed version of a software that many companies used. And they did a software update, and Puerto Rico was toggled on
And we didn't know
as
it
an option
for like
to
7
sign up.
days.
And we did not have
Yeah.
any ability to go into Puerto Rico. So we find out, oh no, we have consultants in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And then by the time we didn't have any Spanish material, we didn't have any Spanish speakers.
We weren't legally set up to go into Puerto Rico, probably.
So we were nervous about. None of our consultants spoke much Spanish.
Yeah.
Deanie was Hispanic, and she
Helped,
could speak
yeah.
Spanish, but that was about it.
Panic day.
By the time we figured out what we were going to do, we had a couple dozen people in Puerto Rico. It was growing quickly. So we figured, well, I guess we're going to invest in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
When we went down to Puerto Rico, what we saw was Scentsy spirit and Scentsy culture that had flourished and organically grown
It had translated
in our American
over,
market.
yeah.
Translated without us doing anything.
Without us even going there
Or
until that
trying
point.
to translate the culture.
Yeah.
So we realized that the culture of Scentsy was something that was tangible even though it wasn't explainable.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't perpetuate it if we tried, but it was perpetuating organically. And so that moment for me was a huge aha that what we had created, or what had emerged from what we had created, was much bigger than us and had a life of its own and had the ability to do good in ways far beyond our original expectation.
And
goes on,
that,
right?
yeah,
It's
yep.
going.
That has to be the coolest part of anything we do, though, of everything that we do, is seeing how these consultants sign up. A lot of them don't have high self-esteem. I might cry.
No business experience.
Maybe not even college. And seeing them build their business and realize how special they are. And they all of a sudden realize their potential, that there's so much more. So that's
Sometimes at Scentsy, it's the first time they've been told they can do something. And then
and they are amazing at it.
yeah.
And there's no limit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, they can keep going and going.
It's a pretty cool thing.
And they become better versions of themselves. And they recognize that, and watching that journey is by far
Pretty
the
cool.
most gratifying, right? That's why we still do it. I mean, we don't need to, our
Yeah.
financial goals have been met long, long ago, but every year there's a new crop of consultants
Yeah.
that we get to
Nurture.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it used to be they were like
We
our
are.
cool older sisters.
But
Now they're like our friends of our kids.
We're grandma and grandpa,
Yeah.
not mom and dad.
pretty soon
So-
soon we'll be recruiting
Yeah.
people that are friends of our grandchildren, but
Yeah.
that's what keeps us going.
Yep.
That's a great journey to be on.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That was a great way to end it. Awesome. Lon, anything else that we should talk about?
Sorry. You didn't bring any tissue.
That's so wonderful.
It's okay.
Part of the story that should be, or that could be emphasized, is what the Idaho export impact of Scentsy is. I mean, we ship product all over the world. We make 30 million bars a year. Not many of them are consumed in Idaho comparatively, but we're shipping product to 11 different countries. We make probably, what would you say, Lonnie, 40% of our revenue is made here? Maybe close to 50%.
Yeah.
So we probably export out of Idaho $200 million a year.
And you have more than just what we're going to get a tour of the manufacturing facility where not the one that makes the wax, but the one that makes all your other products.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Maybe talk about that quickly for me.
Two.
What else you do besides just the wax?
Yeah.
The
So
bar.
Scentsy is all things fragrance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we're a fragrance company. We started with warmers and wax because wax is the best way of diffusing home fragrance. There's just a warmth and a roundness and a fullness to fragrance that is warmed through wax. That's how we started, but
the facility that you'll be touring, we do bath bombs, Scentsy soak, which is a new product we just launched.
all
All
of
of
the personal
our
care.
personal care, our
And
kitchen,
laundry.
some of our kitchen
Products,
soaps, and
And laundry is one of our fastest growing segments. Laundry is one of those chores that no one likes to do, but everybody has to do. And if you can do it with fragrance, it makes it so much better. And we started that laundry line a few years ago, and it has steadily grown. And
it's because it's amazing.
I gotta tell you, laundry isn't clean unless it smells like Scentsy.
Mm-hmm.
And once you discover that fact, your laundry takes on a completely new level of excitement.
Oh, I can imagine.
So.
It's fun.
Oh, it smells good. Oh, that's great.
You're getting a picture, or you'll get to see our clean manufacturing. Though it's a pretty sterile, clean place.
I bet it smells awful.
And the wax
Yeah.
the wax
The
manufacturing.
manufacturing one is the one that smells amazing.